Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Namaskar. Namaskar, Johar and Wanakkam.
Hegidra. Namaskara, hegidra.
Yeah, I don't know that language. I know only Johar and Namaskar. And Mr. Aditya has been waiting for you to have a talk with you in Spanish, Portuguese, Tamil, Kannada, English, and even your Desi language. Yeah, he's been eagerly waiting for you.
Yeah, muy bien, Aditya. Y, buenas suertes para todo. Harish, buenos días. Aditya, muchas suertes para la sesión. Dios te bendiga grandemente y espero que todo vaya maravilloso, espléndido. Bueno.
Claro, claro. Muchas gracias. Y adoro esa gorra india que llevas.
Está bien. O gorra, sí. gorra de como es. A mí me gusta mucho jugar, cualquier cosa. Está bien.
Bueno.
Y otra vez, Harish, Aditya, and everybody, have a good time. And all my audience, dime.
También quiero que aportes un poquito en nuestra sesión.
Sí, voy a estar desde el principio a la final en la sesión, no hay problema. Y es gran placer para mí. ¿Está bien, Aditya? Bueno, chao. Continúa, por favor.
And now, sorry everyone. Now we have our chief guest already. Sir has joined. Biddu sir, good morning, sir. Hello.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Namaste, sir.
Namaskaram and good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
And sir, we have our keynote speaker today, Mr. Aditya, already here, and Pravas Khosla, sir. You can please have a word with our chief guest of the webinar today. He's my mentor, Mr. Biddu Das.
Biddu Das, pretty good morning from, of course, from Bangalore. And on behalf of the platform called Manoj Speaking English, the launch pad for many people who are enthusiasts, to learn language. And we, of course, give pretty good supporting hands to groom up our people who are like ground level soldiers. And I'm so thankful to Mr. Manoj because he's been like a warrior of English, calling for the people, the brigadier, the commanders from different parts of the world. And today we have Aditya Bharadwaj. He's a polyglot. And Biddu sir, once again, nothing to talk more. We would invite you with all heart to this session. And it's a great pleasure and a lot of enthusiasm and ecstasy for me to see you being the part of our platforms. And of course, to Aditya Bharadwaj. So I wish you oodles of success and let this show roll on smoothly, aesthetically. Thanks a lot. This is what from my side. Now to Mr. Manoj. Over to Manoj. Why don't you, maneuver the session, please, Manoj? Is it there?
I don't think. I think.
Aditya, if you check it out, is it there?
Aditya? Yeah, I am checking. Yeah, he's.
No, he's not in the group. He got disconnected.
He is out of the radar. Yeah, Samir, he's out of the radar. Just bring him
by mistake.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a few minutes.
All my audience, Manoj sir is, he must be. Pardon? Who's that?
Sir, Manoj sir is not here, sir.
Yeah, please wait. Must be some technical glitches, and he will be back. So then we'll start off. I'll calling him. Okay.
Okay.
So in between, student, why don't you greet each other? It's a platform to know, in addition to learn something, is a platform to develop or extend your fellowship. So please don't mind speaking to each other, greetings to each other. Please go ahead. Meantime, I'm just dropping a call to Ms. Manoj to get into the session.
one big thanks to Harish once again for connecting me with so many wonderful people. It's only because of you that I've come across Manoj and then Ravasi and so many other beautiful people that I'm getting to meet today. So I totally owe you one for that, man.
Good morning, everybody. Let's talk something instead of sitting very, very idle. I would like to request Khosla sir also.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And I just talked to Manoj. He's in. So
Okay,
let him steer the session.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry for this interruption due to an unavailable network issue. I'm so sorry, everyone. Yeah. Can you hear me all? I have changed my place. I don't
Yes,
know what
absolutely.
happened to. I think the network has been my enemy today. And anyway, I feel glad to introduce Biddu Sari there, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, I feel always glad and privileged and honored to have such dignitaries today and my always enthusiastic audience to this webinar. They have been a part and parcel of such a webinar, making it a huge success. So I take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest and our keynote speaker of the day simultaneously. First of all, I'll introduce our chief guest, Mr. Bidip Das, who is my mentor and my guide. In the year 2007, I learned first spoken English under his guidance. He's the first teacher in my life who taught me spoken English and phonetics. And so I feel glad to talk about him a little bit. He has done MCOM, LLB, and MBA in HR specialization. He is a neurolinguistics practitioner, motivational speaker, and trainer. He is working on life skill training. He's a life skill trainer. Sir is a retired Air Force personnel who has devoted his 20 years of time to Indian Air Force. Sir has also 2 years of experience in corporate world. He has worked with corporate sector. Currently, sir is the vice president of Burger District Veteran Association, and he's the director himself of Siddhivinayak Public School, Burger District. I'm really so honored and privileged to have you, sir, here with us to this forum. And I'm always so happy and inspired by sir. So thank you, sir. I welcome you to our webinar, MSc, on behalf of all our active and so much enthusiastic participants. Now it's time for me to introduce our keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Aditya Bharadwaj. He's a freelance voice and accent trainer, particularly focuses on American voice and accent training. He's a polyglot, having mastery on different languages, multiple languages, not only Indian language, but mainly foreign languages. They are English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Persian, Sanskrit, Hindi, Tamil, and Urdu. He is a doctor himself. He has done BDS from People's Dental Academy, BDS, that is called from People's University. He has a lot of experiences in the field of teaching English, Spanish, and other languages. As I told you, he is a brilliant language trainer. Since 2015, he has taught so many students of different countries, as many as 20 countries in the world. He's an IELTs trainer since 2016. and particularly he works on American English accent. He has conducted many online and offline tuition for teaching biology, Spanish, and English. So I'm so thankful to Mr. Aditya Bharadwaj, the speaker, keynote speaker of today's webinar. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And I thank Mr. Harish for introducing me to Mr. Adil, such a great personality. Okay. And may I please request our chief guest, Hindu sir, to speak a few words and enlighten us.
Thank you, Manoj. And a warm good morning to all our participants. It's my privilege to be here in this platform, and particularly, I'm a very good learner. And today, it's really time to learn from Khosla sir and Aditya sir, those who have vast knowledge and wide experience, particularly in this language. And when we talk about today, what I am or what I did, I think doesn't matter much. What matters is that how much dedicated we are to learn this language, and particularly we are non-native people. When we talk to this today, particularly we are talking about. Manoj asked me about the MTI problem or influence of mother tongue in a foreign language. So, like I just like to tell everybody, let's learn a little bit. So, like when we talk about English, is it our mother tongue? I think everybody we know and boldly can say, no, this is not our mother tongue. And we are learning, like in this whole world, it is not our inherited language. We learn this language. And when we learn this language, we have to accept ourselves that yes, we are learner and we can start going to this. So let me start with, like when we talk about this English language, normally whatever my experience or whatever I have learned in my life, almost everybody, the two sides of this language, these two sides of the language, we just do not differentiate. Like the language has a literature part and the other one is the language part. And we always confused between focused in the literature. But once I asked, I was a very formal interaction with a professor of the JNU, and I asked him, sir, where do we learn a language? Is it so that whatever Shakespeare has written, whatever Wordsworth has written, we have to copy that one? Or actually, we learn a language to prove ourselves, to project ourselves in front of the others. And I think all the audience, everybody, we know it very well that language is a medium to express ourselves, our emotions, our feelings, or the like giving some data and all. So when we talk about this language, normally I think the language part is neglected, and the literature part, even in each and every language, when a non-Tamilian or non-Udia, you can say, they want to learn the language, they focused on the literature instead of learning the language. And when we talk about the language needs to be learned in a very, very, very natural process, not required. And the language, the more we make it simple, it's my personal opinion that the more it is simple, the more we express and we able to express our feelings and emotions. So, friends, when we talk about this English language, and particularly again, I'm talking and focusing on the language part, not towards the literature part. So, when we talk about the language, now all of us we talk about spoken English. Like today in this platform with the dynamic leader Manoj, the name itself is Manoj Spoken English, and I'm really thankful to this energetic boy. And I really feel privileged that today I'm here to share some of my feelings with you people in this learning group. All the audience, all the participants, really, you people are energetic on Sunday, on a holiday, you are given your time to learn and know something. So, friends, what do you understand actually by spoken English? I have like again, it's my personal opinion or it's my like personal thought. So when I talk about spoken English, I feel the spoken English means it is the skill of fluency, like how fluently we speak a language, or in other words, if I say that if I claim myself that I'm fluent in English, I must be able to speak this language like my mother tongue. It's a very simple definition that I have thought. What is spoken English? Spoken English, the skill of fluency, or in very simple language, you can say a spoken English means speaking English naturally like my mother tongue. So when I talk about this language, now there must be some elements to start with. So what can be the? I'm not again. I'm focusing on the language part, and when I talk about this language, there are some elements in this spoken English. Like we can start thinking about the first one. Every language has certain rules and regulations. There is a structure, and particularly in this language, you can tell that structure to grammar part. So again, this grammar, we need not to go to the deeper side of this grammar. Like if somebody express his feelings and you can understand that, that is enough. It's not an competitive examination that we have to very sure about the rules and regulations, but 100% I'm sure that there is importance of the grammar part. But at the same time, rigidity should not be there. We must encourage people to speak the language. Once they speak the language, the grammar automatically comes. As such, if we will see the Indian base also, if we talk about, once I had a talk with one of these gent from this uh, Hyderabad Shipel. So he too told, don't worry much about the grammar part. You just start speaking, grammar will come automatically. Grammar will come automatically. So now this is the first element, you can say grammar, and the second comes the pronunciation. So when we talk about the pronunciation, you will see that different countries, they pronounce a particular word in a different manner. Now, in the pronunciation segment, there need to be a base. There need to be a base in the whole world. Now, how to pronounce? Even if we are using this phonetics, so when we talk about the phonetics itself, it has some sound, and the sound is based on the British system. Or right now, when we talk about the pronunciation, before some years, like I can sure before 20 years, we Indian, we were following the BRP, that is British received pronunciation we were following. Then after the emergence of the different companies, so many American companies started working in India, and we follow a little bit of American pronunciation. Now, when we talk about the pronunciation, this pronunciation is clearly, if you will see, if you will watch minutely, the pronunciation is totally affected by the accent of the particular person. And the accent, uh, like in Indian context, if we say, like the South India, let's talk about like the, if we'll go Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, they have a different set of pronunciation. If we'll go to the north side, like the Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, they have a set of pronunciation and accent. And if we'll come to like West Bengal, Odisha, Assam, they have a particular set of accent. And the way they speak their mother tongue, normally they try to use other language, not only English, other language also, they try to speak in that same style because they are acquainted with their mother tongue. Now, again, this is the third element. The fourth and elements I would like to say in this language is intonation. Like when we talk about intonation, in India, to the best of my knowledge, the sweetest language in India is known as the Maithili language, where I used to tell people, even they abuse you, even they scold you, it is so sweet that you don't feel that they are abusing. And after the Maithili, the other language that follows in the sweetness is like Bhojpuri language. but that is in national context. Now, if we talk about international context, which language is the sweetest language, then definitely the answer comes the English language. Like friends, I'll tell you, there are n numbers of language in the world, but why English has become international language or commonly accepted language in the world? It's due to its wit. It's due to its easiness. So English is not a difficult language. It's rather a very, very simple language which allow us to express ourselves very, very clearly and very easily. So intonation, when I talk, the rhythmic pattern of speaking this language is known as the intonation. So if we go to the deeper side, we see the syllable of this word pronunciation. We'll go like the chunk we use. So this is the part of intonation. The another one we say the fluency. Uh, in the fluency, we'll see that how nicely we speak without any hurdle. That is what we say fluency. Fluency doesn't mean that we are speaking in a high speed. Fluency doesn't mean that we are speaking in a very, very high speed, because the next elements of the language is the pace, the speed of the language. Every language in the world has a particular speed. Do we maintain that speed? And at the end, also, we have to see the assertiveness of the speaker. See, is he positive to speak this language or he is hesitating to speak this language? When we talk about, I have observed in a number of cases, like when somebody try to speak English, they change their facial expression. Uh, Personally, to me, I think it's not good for a good speech. This body language, the facial expression, it should be as natural as the other language, not required. So today, the particular topic we are talking about, it is the like MTI, whether MTI influence in the spoken language. Now, the MTI is part of accent, because the mother tongue influence the language in pronunciation as per their style. And if we'll take BRP as the base, if we'll take BBC, the way the BBC speaker speak, if we'll take it as the base, then only, hello, if we'll take BBC as the base of our language, then surely we'll understand whether we are correct, we are in the right pronunciation, or we are going to have a little bit variation in that one. Let me tell you some of this example, like what happened. So the three things that is required to remove the MTI, the first thing we should talk about the accent, the second one is the pronunciation, and the third one we talk about the like the pronunciation, accent, and intonation. If these three things we can maintain, then definitely will be accepted by one and all. So first thing, let's say what that it comes. Why MTI is required? Like in some of these cases, like if we go, the pronunciation differs from place to place. Like let me tell you one very simple word, that is we talk about BULB. Like when we say BULB, if we go and ask this particular pronunciation of different part, let's start from the South India. The sound comes like bulb. They normally, a common person, they speaks BULB as bulb. And if you come to the middle area like the Odisha, West Bengal, and others, like a part of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, they say here's bulb. They use the word like bulb. And if we'll go to the Punjab side, they have a very major type of pronunciation. They make the sound like balab. The BULB become balab in Punjab. The same way, let's talk about, if we'll go to South India and we ask which school, the the sound comes like SCHOOL. The sound come, it's like school. Now, if we'll go to Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, they make the sound at Sakul. They make the sound at Sakul. And if you come to West Bengal and all, they make like school. Now let's take a typical pronunciation of West Bengal. They have a lot of sound in their mother tongue. They make very prominent about the sound O. They make the sound like O. And in the normal case, the Aravinda become Aurobindo. And purely the accent, the mother tongue influence about the other language. Now to remove this one, we need to understand the phonetics. We have to practice the phonetics, and we have to listen a lot. The more we listen to the native speaker, the more we listen to the native speaker, the more we will be able to.
Vidus sir, sorry to hold you. I request the participant, could you please mute your respective audio, and it is my sincere request to you all, so that everybody will be happily listen. Please.
And one more thing, this meeting, I think it's about to get over at 11:40. So I request everyone to join the other link to continue this meeting at 11:40.
Yeah. So please, Vidus sir, sorry to interrupt you. It's wonderful. Thanks a lot. Now continue, please.
So when we are talking about, let's talk about some of these things like how the word goes. Like let's talk about Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. When we say president, we Odia people definitely we say like president, resident, reside. But is it so? Is it the pronunciation of these particular words are same? But same way, if we'll go to Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana and all, they pronounce the word very, very clearly, like they say president. And everybody, all we know that the short form of president is like prej. Like we say resident. We do not say reside. But here we say reside. This is the effect of the mother tongue. So, friends, one thing I'd like to tell you, we have to listen a lot to understand this. Otherwise, the mother tongue will carry on influencing. Like, let's say, we people, those who are pursuing or those who we want to develop our language, we use small words and we try to correct that one. Let me tell you, all of us in almost in our like subconscious, when we speak fluently, we say feather. But what is the real sound? It should be like feather. It's a feather touch. Like let's talk about if you a teeny particle, but normally we say tiny particle. We say like we Indian we say often, but the BRP say it should be up there. Okay, fine. Not possible that one day we'll be able to learn everything, but at the same time we should try to reach as near as possible to the language, so that whenever we go out of our area, out of our limitation, definitely will be accepted by other people. Will be accepted. See, in India we talk about metro rail. In Delhi we say it is metro. In Bangalore we say metro. But if we'll go to London and if we'll ask somebody about the metro, they don't know. But they use that particular as tube. So even the word changes in certain area. So we have to be good enough to understand that yes, if I'm Odia, so definitely my mother tongue will influence a little bit to this English language. That's okay. At the same time, scared of this mother tongue influence to speak English, it will take me nowhere. So, what I want to tell you is that when we start growing, when we start a little bit learning, when we practice more and more, definitely the MTI will remove automatically. You need not to think about that. No, I need to remove my MTI. I need to remove my MTI. Don't worry. Don't give pressure to your mind. Just to speak the language. The more you speak, the more you be fluent. automatically the wrong will be corrected and the right will enter. It's a natural process. Language is a natural process. It is not something that we have to give a lot of pressure to it. Friends, MTI influence will be there. Even if we go, like we watch English movie, if we'll see an American movie and we will see a Britain movie, if we say Kannada movie, if we'll say Australian movie, you see the difference of the pronunciation even by the international lectures. Now, if they can make a little bit of difference in their language, then if we make them, what's the wrong in it? But the first thing is that we must start speaking. And another thing, nothing should scare you to speak this language. We human being, or even an animal, a bird never flies the day it takes birth. A human being never walks, he never stands. It takes time. A little step, little step, little step, one step, other step, one step, other step, they start walking. After walking, they start running. After running, maybe they the famous world sprinter. So when we talk about the language, why we are so scared about I am right or wrong? Friends, a small request to all of you before I conclude my thought process towards this MTI problem. Let the MTI doesn't scare you to speak the language. You please start speaking, automatically the MTI will be removed. And remember one thing, English is not only a language, it's a lifestyle. Once you speak this language, your whole life will be changed. I have done it. I'm satisfied in my life. The day I started my language, I pursue this language. I have changed myself. And I'm very, very happy about Manoj. All audience, all the guests today, you can see what Manoj is. And I'm associated with Manoj for the last, I think, 14 to 15 years. We may not talk for months, but the day we talk, we feel like, yes, we are together, we are same. So thank you, everybody, giving me this beautiful platform and to share some of my thoughts. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Khosla sir. Thank you, Aditya sir. I know I'm a very, very local guy trying to learn a lot of
Not at
things.
all. No,
Everybody.
we totally owe you for the pearls of wisdom that you just said, that you just gave us. Thank you so much for bestowing us with your presence and your words. Thank you so very much. It was really inviting. Yeah, Manoj.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for speaking and enlightening us throughout this webinar today. Really, we are so inspired and mesmerized to hear your words, because you very nicely explain about the MTI accent, pronunciation, and the fear phobia we have, lingual phobia to a foreign language. So one request to everybody, the meeting is going to get over soon after a few seconds. So we'll be joining the second one. It begins just after a few seconds. So please join another link that I have shared with call. Hanya di aneh po. Joining course, ma'am. Class. Yeah, hello. Can you hear me, everyone? Hello,
Yes,
dear
sir.
participants. Yeah,
Yeah, I can
Aditya,
hear
is
you.
my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, without making
Yes.
yeah, without making any delay, actually, I request Mr. Aditya to start the session. Yeah, please. The time is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking my friend Manoj. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much, Harish, for introducing me to the entire gang of polyglots that we have here. Thank you so much, Pravas, sir. Thank you very much for your presence. And of course, thank you infinitely, Mr. Vidyutji, and for not just for serving our nation, but also for serving our cause to, educate everyone and, teaching everyone. And that too in my favorite domain of languages, which I have a special liking towards. So I know at the risk of sounding entitled, I'd like to say that, I take an immediate liking and adoration towards people who like languages. So yeah, thank you so much. And the words that you spoke were really, really very enlightening. Thank you so much for illuminating us. Mr. Vidyutji, thank you so much. I totally get in touch with you. And yes, I need to learn a lot from you as well. Thank you so very much. So with that, today, again, it's about mother tongue influence. All right, so before going into without delving any deeper, let's talk about what mother tongue influence is really all about. Well, some say the MTI, restricts itself towards the accent, and some say that it's about grammar. Well, it doesn't really confine itself to something in particular. But rather, mother tongue influence is a phenomenon that's sort of, it permeates throughout all the aspects of a language, be that reading, writing, listening, speaking, accent, grammar, or anything else. Basically, anything under the sun regarding language could be influenced by a person's mother tongue. It's totally natural. Which brings us to the question: why even discuss mother tongue influences? I mean, come on, what's the problem in having a mother tongue? Inflicting, having a mother tongue infliction in your language. It's not going to change anything, would it? Well, turns out that the world is actually pretty partial towards the native speakers of the language. Like, for example, let's say for a person who's learning Spanish, people from Spain and Latin American countries who speak Spanish as their mother tongue are considered to be the gold standard. That's people dream to achieve their levels, while speaking a language. Same goes for English. Yes, we, as Vidyutji so correctly put, we're not the native speakers of English. We're foreign speakers of the language. We've acquired this language for a period of time. We're Indians. English is not an Indian language. It's something that's been bequeathed to us because of colonial experience and a variety of other stuff. But yes, we are speakers of English, but we are not that coveted when it comes to counting people, counting countries that speak English. We don't come at the top. Countries like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, etc. These are the countries which are considered to be English-speaking countries, apart from the former and the current superpowers, the United Kingdom, United States, of course. So the colonized countries like India, well, we've had rich, long history, and we've had our culture, as a part of which we have a lot of linguistic diversity in our country since the beginning of time, and we're pretty much the cradle of human civilization. So we have a very long history going long back. So English is, I would say, the history of India. The history of English in India is pretty nascent. It's pretty recent. So we're not really considered to be very prolific speakers of English. But we do speak pretty well. A lot of us here speak really, really good English, but we're sort of not given enough credit. And the reason for that is, again, it's because Indians are foreign speakers of the language. So we don't come under the cadre of the gold standard speakers of that language. Because, India is not really where English originated from. So that's how the entire thing works. And this is where the question regarding mother tongue influences come in. Yes. So we speak English with a particular twang. as if you will, maybe an accent or maybe, whatever. So is it, are we good enough speakers of English? It's basically another way of asking, is mother tongue influence good? So is our way of speaking English in any way invalidated? Or are we supposed to follow the Brits or the Americans or the Canadians and follow their way of speaking English? Is that the only authentic way, or the way we speak, is that acceptable as well? It's another interpretation of the same question. To begin with, the answer is partially yes and partially no, and I shall try and expound on this as much as possible. Yes. Okay. So before answering this question, let's understand who really has the hegemony of English. Who determines what English will look like in the future? Who decides how English should work? Is it the British Council? Is it IDP Australia? Is it the University of Toronto, or maybe some other office in the United States? Well, the answer is none of these, really, because the person who decides the trajectory and the course that English will take in the future is you. Yes, my dear friends, it's none other than you yourself. Yes, each and every single one of you, regardless of whether or not you're native speakers of English or foreign speakers, have the power to change the course of this language. And I'm going to explain to you why. Well, I cannot say this for other languages like, let's say, Portuguese or maybe German. Obviously, the reason for that is German, for example, it's just spoken in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Liechtenstein, and some parts of Belgium and Luxembourg. That's pretty much it. It's a very narrow, sort of circumscribed geographical region in which German is spoken. It's not really spoken outside of that perimeter, which makes German a very endemic language. It's not as widespread, not nearly as widespread as English is. So, well, for German, you may say that, well, maybe somebody from Germany is the perfect German speaker. You cannot say that for English, you know that? That's because due to the colonial experience, okay, in the past and in a sense, even in the present, okay, so earlier, the United Kingdom used to be the world's superpower, yes, reigning more than, I don't know, almost 40% of the world's landmass, okay? So they've had quite an impact on this planet, the United Kingdom, in the last 300, 400 years. And they have spread, among many other things, their language, the English language. And fortunately or unfortunately, the other superpower, the country that came next as a superpower is the United States, which is another Anglophone core country. They also speak English. And today, the global economy stands on the value of the dollar. And if the dollar falls, everything else crumbles as well. And that's how economic recession took place in 2007. So it's safe to say that, the countries which have borne the hegemony over the world and what takes place here, they have been English-speaking countries. So, and this experience has globalized English, okay? It's exported English beyond borders. And today, English is a global language. It's not just a language just for the native speakers of a circumscribed region. No. That's not true anymore. Yes, English is very much, a language, for the entire world. So just to give you an example, let's say a Japanese entrepreneur, businessman, would like to, if he wants to conduct business with someone from Brazil, the Japanese guy would not learn Portuguese that's spoken in Brazil. Similarly, the Brazilian guy would not try and learn Japanese. Rather, these two would actually fall on English. So you see the role of English in today's world. It's a bridge. It's a bridge of communication. Okay, it's bringing people together, which was otherwise not possible. Now, to exacerbate the same effect, we have internet in today's day and age. We are at the we are at the cusp of one of the greatest discoveries of mankind, probably after electricity, and that's internet. And today the world is coming together as one. And guess what language is used the most on the internet? Surprise, surprise. It's English. Newsflash. Well, so English is, I would say English is as important as internet is today. because I mean, languages and internet and all these different parts of communication actually serve a greater lord, an overlord, and that is the very fabric of communication. So without English, we wouldn't be able to communicate today, right? So this status is not enjoyed as much as any other language, like for example Urdu or Tamil, or let's say Sinhalese or any other language, because no other language has been as far and widely spread as as English. So with that firmly in mind, do you still think that only Brits, Canadians, Americans, South Africans, Australians, the Irish, and the Kiwis have, do you think that these are the only people, these are the only citizens who have any say in determining the future of English? No. Why? Because you, as the speakers of English language, wield the ability to change how English is going to be in the future. So how a language looks in the future is completely determined by the educated proportion, the educated section of the native speakers of that language. Well, today, English has spread further beyond the limits of its native speakers. And there are many secondary speakers of the language who actually speak just as well or even better than the native speakers. Yes. So I think that the entire responsibility of carrying shaping how English is going to be in the future, it lies in your hands. It lies in my hands. It lies in the hands of each and every single solitary person who speaks the language well. So now, how does this pan out in terms of mother tongue influence? Well, turns out mother tongue influence is not as big of a problem as it was once thought. It was once thought. Yes. So you can totally have mother tongue influence as long as you speak the language correctly. Okay. So I would like to totally echo the words of what Mr. Vidiji has so correctly put. Okay, I'm mostly going to be elaborating on what he said because he pretty much enunciated everything so clearly. Yes. So I just wanted to fill in the few lacunae that he might have left because the shortage of time that he had. So anyway, so we now once that it's been firmly established that it's if you have something to say, you may please raise your hands at any point of time. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Or you may even unmute yourself and you can speak into the microphone. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. So now that firmly out of the way, the fact that English can be shaped by any one of you or any one of us as long as we speak English correctly. Let's talk about the mother tongue influence. Yes. So mother tongue influence, sometimes it causes a person to speak incorrect English. It may happen. And for example, there are people who think in their native tongue all the time and then speak in English without thinking and conjuring up thoughts and sentences in English and then speaking it. Okay, so there is a level of mental internal translation that takes place. Yes. So, for example, there was this time when I heard somebody say, "I have the heart to drink water." And I didn't really understand what that person said. I have the heart to drink water. This is what this person said. I have the heart to drink water. I didn't really get what he wanted to say. And, after it took me a few moments to realize that he was actually saying, "Mujhe pani peene ka man kar raha hai." I feel like drinking water. So what he did was he spoke the sentence in Hindi and translated it, he translated it word by word into English, and then he spoke it out. Now the thing is, he was actually aware of this, of this construct. I feel like drinking water, but he didn't use it. Why? Because he was not thinking in English. He was thinking in Hindi, and then he was speaking English. So this is a classic example of MTI, which is generally considered to be unacceptable. Yes, because it sort of corrupts how language should work, and it basically goes against the spirit of that language. You don't normally speak sentences like these. But then, who am I to decide? How do I say that you cannot say I have the heart to drink water? Why is that an incorrect sentence? Well, because I didn't understand what he said. And the use of language, the use of English, is basically to facilitate communication. And if he was unable to transmit his ideas to me, that's failure in communication. Does that make sense? So if he was unable to communicate while speaking in English, that means he didn't speak English well enough. That's what this means. So try to always think in the language that you're speaking before speaking it. So what this does is that this paves the way for effective communication and transmission of ideas to take place. And this also takes you closer towards linguistic perfection. I'm not saying that you should, form, the choicest, most complex, diplomatically diverse sort of sentences, and use very different grammar and vocabulary. No, don't do that, because that could hamper, communication as well. Okay, so just to quote a little example, if I want to say that, I'm instead of saying speaking ill of somebody, let's say instead of saying speaking ill of somebody, you could use a word called slander. Okay, so let's say Ram spoke ill of Sham. Instead of saying this, I could easily say Ram slandered Sham. I'm just using a better choice of vocabulary. But if I use a word that's too advanced or too difficult, something like Ram floxinocinificated Sham. Mind it, it's a word, it's a real word. It's a very long word, but it is a word which means speaking ill of somebody. So what's the aim of using such a complicated word? It's aimless, it's pointless, all right? So you might be using your language really well, but then if you're not communicating your ideas, because the person, who's on the other end of the communication would not be able to understand this word, floxinocinification, which means, speaking ill of somebody or slandering. So obviously it's not exactly a word which you'd like to use. So again, this goes on to prove that language serves a greater master, that is communication. Okay? So you should be able to enunciate clearly and just use the correct words at the correct, within the correct context. Okay? Do not move out of the context, and you're good enough. Now, so this I just gave you, an example of mother tongue influence that is generally not acceptable. It's generally not accepted, at least. Okay, and that's again, to repeat myself, it's basically using sentence constructions and words which you use in your mother tongue, but it's not really how you say it in English. So I think we should try and avoid making those mistakes, because if we do, again, we would render ourselves incomprehensible to the person that's listening to us. So it would sort of become pointless to speak English. I would rather speak in Hindi, or I'd rather speak in a regional language to get my point across, instead of using speaking something in English which doesn't make a lot of sense. Said it if you said it that way. Yes. All right. So now let me talk to you about a tenet of mother tongue influence, which is actually acceptable. It's very much acceptable. And that's the accent. There you go. And this is exactly what Aditya was talking about a while ago. So this is one place where you can totally follow your heart. Okay, do as you please. You have no sort of obligation to follow the North American or the British or the Irish or the Australian accent. Okay, you can do as you please. You can say things as you please with any sort of accent. Okay, you have no obligation whatsoever. Okay, because it's beautiful to hear someone speak English in the Odia accent, or let's say the Telugu accent. Okay, because it adds on to the plurality and the diversity of English speech and English speakers overall, across the world. Because that way it's really it's the smorgasbord, the cornucopia of different accents that we have, among people who speak English. It's amazing. Okay? It's very diverse. Okay? And if you only add to the diversity, which actually globalizes English even more. Yes. But again, there's always a caveat. Yes. If your accent is a bit too thick, that it renders your speech incomprehensible, then maybe that is not a very good idea, possibly. Yes. So, for example, instead of saying, "How are you doing today?" if I spoke something like, I'm sorry, I don't sound really good, making, doing these accent bits. Yes. But yes, if you, let's say you speak with a very thick accent, which, the speakers of English are unable to comprehend, then maybe it's definitely worth giving a shot, to improve your English accent. It's just to the point where you're intelligible, where your speech is intelligible, for a native speaker, or for that matter, to anyone that you're speaking to. Yes. But other than that, if you have a thick accent, and even if you feel that it doesn't sound authentic, believe me, you do not have to sound authentic. You are perfect, and you are authentic your own way, as long as you're understandable. Now, again, I'd like to quote Mr. Bidiji from a few minutes ago. So he did say that within a few echelons, in a few spheres of profession, it is demanded of you to also have sort of accent that's considered to be authentic, or more tied to the native speakers of English. So for example, let's say if you're a voice and accent trainer, or let's say you're part of a business process that requires you to cater to clientele from let's say the United States, then you might very well have to adapt as per the requirements of that the job post, just to make sure that you sound as authentic as possible, and as close as possible to the American speakers. So in that case, it would be way better if you did try and make a very conscious effort to copy or even aid the Americans as best as possible. And but again, this is just for the sake of your job. Okay? That does not mean that your own accent is any less authentic than the American one. Again, this stems from the fact that English is globalized. It's spread across the globe, and anyone who speaks English well enough is an authentic speaker of it, as long as they're able to enunciate it clearly. And last but not least, if let's say you're willing to settle abroad, and if that country, your country of destination, happens to be an Anglophone nation, if it's a part of the Anglosphere, well, then of course you would have to try and make a conscious effort to integrate yourself with the locals over there. I mean, you know what? Again, this is sort of a sensitive issue, yes, because our skins are way swarthier than people from the West, from the West, yes. So a lot of people, they mistake cultural disintegration. I mean, cultural, I would say, isolation with xenophobia. So what a lot of Indians sometimes experience abroad as being neglected by people from the West is it actually not, it doesn't stem from the fact that we're from a different race or from a different skin color, but rather because of our, well, unconscious reluctance from wanting to integrate into society of the country where you're trying to reside in. So if you're moving to a country, it becomes your responsibility. Goes without saying that it becomes your responsibility to try and integrate those people. Because that gives you that confers upon you better opportunities, better job prospects, better connections. You make more friends, you feel less isolated, and for the best way of doing that, of effectuating that, is actually to be fluent in the tongue of the land. So the better you are, and the more authentic you sound, and the closer you sound to the locals, the better it is for you, because you have a better chances of getting treated equally. So guys, it's not really xenophobia, it's totally upon us as to how we integrate their society. And one of the main ways of doing it is by actually speaking their language their way. So that's another instance where, developing, eliminating any. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Just a second. Sorry for this interruption.
No problem.
We have international advisor to MSc, Dr. Joey. Hi, Dr. Joey Marlowe. Can you hear me?
Hello. I'm there. I was having some connectivity issue. I'm very sorry. So I was very late. I got hold of the Wi-Fi person, and everything is now settled.
No, it's okay. No problem.
Very sorry. Yeah. It's
even,
nice.
Even we got a lot of problems today. I don't know. Okay,
it's nice.
Mr. Aditya, I'd like to tell you something a little bit about Dr. Joy. Yeah,
sure.
Once she became a keynote speaker, and now she's an international advisor to our institute.
Great.
And dear audience, let me make an announcement. Last 10 minutes that begins after 3 minutes. 12:10 to 12:19 will give 10 minutes for question answer session, right? Because I do believe the audience will have some doubts and queries to ask and to know about you from you, because you are a good trainer. So later on, they want to make their career in training department, maybe a language teacher. Some of them aspire to do something based on language teaching, right? So that is why we need to give them a little bit space.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, now please continue. Yeah.
Great to be here. I noticed that I was muted. Sorry about that. I couldn't answer you. I meant to say hi, but I realized that I was muted. I didn't look. Sorry about that. I will remute myself now. If you have any questions later, of course, I'm here. So.
And Mr. Prabhasar has been waiting for you for a long time. Since the moment you came to our webinar. Since then, he has been waiting for you to meet and to have a word with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's let Aditya continue, and then because we're lacking times, so we will allow the students to go for the question. Mr. Aditya, sorry for the interruption. Please go.
No problem. I was done speaking anyway. So all I would say that I was gonna end.
Yeah, please continue.
I was just gonna end by saying that these are two instances where you may want to remove traces of your mother tongue influence just for cultural integration. That was that. So again, it depends on the kind of life that you live. So if your line of profession demands you to eliminate mother tongue influence, then yes, you have to do it, to live a better quality of life, so to speak. Or but then again, if you want to live in India and be a good English speaker, just make sure that your grammar is okay, you're able to enunciate your ideas, and just eliminate those parts of your mother tongue influence which impedes your expression and your sense of communication. Other than that, you're pretty much okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Aditya, for speaking us today. And now I request everybody, all the participants, the audience today, to ask your queries, because he's our trainer and speaker. He's a trainer of IELTs students, those who want to go abroad or those who want to work a language. He has taught many students as long as 20 countries. So far, he teaches many languages. So it's a golden opportunity for everybody to interact with Mr. Aditya Bharadwaj, polyglot and language trainer, especially who focuses on accent and voice. And Dr. Zoe is also there. So both of them can guide us last 10 minutes. Yeah, please go ahead, everyone. Yes, dear participants, don't get afraid. See, this is language, right? If you make mistake, no problem. We are there to guide you. We are there to help you out, okay? So it's simply a language. We are not going to NASA. We are not going to take you to meet Mr. Biden or Mrs. Harris in White House, right? Yes. So, yes, Professor, I request you to please add some points a little bit.
No, I will let's open up the session for the student to ask question. So that would be more fruitful. So student, any question, even though it's not related to today's session, you can ask, because there are stalwarts sitting over here and they would help you out. So even if it don't relevant to today's topic, also no problem. Please ask to your, we have a lot of people on board today. So it's an opportunity for you. Please go ahead. Sorry, I'll stop back my sentence. My sentence goes pretty more. Sorry, go ahead, please. Okay,
Good
anybody.
morning.
So, yeah, ma'am, please go ahead. Who's that?
Good morning, sir. I have a question to Aditya, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, I have one doubt, sir. Are you from India or any other country, sir? Because you speak like
Okay. Apart from being an Indian,
Good question.
apart from being an Indian, I've never even been as much as on board a flight, not even a local one. I've never even visited the airport, even to pick a relative up. So yeah, very Indian actually. A bit too Indian for my own good. Yeah.
So he's from the United States of Tamil Nadu.
That's a good one.
Actually, he was born there in somewhere else in Texas or New Jersey, but by mistake he came to India.
Delivery. The delivery came to the wrong address. Yeah.
Mr. Samir is there, Prince Khosla. Yeah, please interact with our speakers. Ask question. Udit Kumar. Yeah, so many are there. I expect a lot of questions, and it is a good time for you
Question,
to
actually.
get your doubts clarified.
Can I ask the last speaker?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Aditya?
please go ahead.
Aditya.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi there.
Hi. I want to congratulate you on your lovely accent. You sound great when you're speaking.
Thank you.
And I'm a
Thank you so
native
much.
English speaking teacher. So I wanted to say that in Turkey, we have a big, huge similar problem as with Indian accent speaking English. Turkish accent speaking English is also really profoundly different than a native speaker. And the pronunciation that occurs because of the difference in the accent, it makes them sound like they're making pronunciation mistakes when actually it's just their accent is kind of massaging the sound into a different mode of some sort. It's
true.
really complicated, isn't it? This is a very complicated issue to deal with when it comes to trying to sound like you are speaking English, but you have this horrendously different accent that isn't able to sort of kind of get around to that actual shape that's being spoken. I think you must have had some really good practice with native speakers. Is that correct, Aditya?
Well, I did have quite a bit of practice with native speakers, but English is a language that I've been speaking side by side with, you could say, my other two co-official languages, if you will, Hindi and Tamil. So it's like I've been effectively speaking these three languages ever since I started speaking, for as long as I can remember. And I've been pretty well exposed to North American media, pop culture and everything else. So it's basically that more than anything else, which really enabled me to improve my English, develop an accent, so to speak. So I've had this accent since before we had internet here. It's just that I didn't really speak in it, after a certain point in my life, because I didn't want to seem like somebody who was incongruent, out of line, out of place. So it took me quite a while to come out in the clear and use this accent. Much to the amazement of even my parents, like they didn't know like how I was able to pull this off out of the blue. But I sort of have had this since a very long time. Since I don't even remember since when I've been speaking like this, but I've never really revealed it. And as a matter of fact, my parents are here listening to it.
That's awesome.
Okay.
We
that's
tell people in Turkey, one of our techniques, and I'll be very brief, sorry about this, but I just wanted to mention that what you have done, you have obviously listened to TV programs and movies and everything there is to do with other accents speaking English as far as Americans and British people. And in our courses for speaking in Turkey, we absolutely 100% encourage our students to please spend some time every day watching a sitcom and then stopping it and repeating what the person said that they just heard, you know, some sentences spoken, whatever. We ask them to practice with the TV program or sitcom or even movie. Just stop it, rewind, fast forward, and keep trying to sound like the person who's speaking. And that's been effective for some people. And I think you've probably done a little of that. At least you've been watching the right show.
That's true. That's true. That's true, because there was no way I could actually have,
Aditya, thanks a lot. There's a 2 question from the audience. Could you please get back quickly, because then we'll just get into. Can you see that in the screen? How to?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Could you please briefly answer them back? It would be
absolutely. I'll be very succinct here with my answer. So, how to manage study timetable? So, number 1, languages are not meant to be studied. Languages are meant to be lived. You don't study it, you live the world. It's like learning about the entire world once again, but using a different code. In this case, they say English. So you don't spend a certain number of hours a day. You spend 24 hours of your day living, but in English. I think that answers your question. Yes.
Yeah.
Is grammar important? Yes. Is grammar important for spoken English? Well, grammar is important, but then again, you shouldn't worry too much. Just learn, you know, a few rules at a time. Just try following them, and then learn a few others. So, you know, it's more like I would say it's more like a pair of crutches that you use for walking. But once you're walking, you're able to ambulate well. You can get rid of those crutches. So you need to follow the rules of grammar just to the extent where you're able to speak comfortably and correctly. But after that point, you can forget about that. That's what I feel about this. The Z sound and J sound in India, it becomes a problem. Just try and pronouncing the Z. Okay, just try to say snake and try to say it with your vocal cords. Z. It's just the voice S sound is the Z sound. Practice that again, just like Dr.Jeo, Zoe said, you could watch sitcoms, which can actually help you. Yes, master this sound. But then again, if people are able to understand you, and if you don't have any sort of requirement to pronounce the Z sound to nail it, again, totally okay, even doing it with the J sound.
Is a funny question from my side. When you become a polyglot and walk down the street, will the dog bark at you?
It would. It would chase at me. It would chase me down the street, and and it would ask me the same question: "Are you from India?"
Good.
And if you're a polyglot, if you're a polyglot, let me say something. If you're a polyglot, you can roam around the world without any net or without any visa. Right?
Well, that's not true. You do need a visa. The Indian passport isn't the best in the world.
Yeah. Just kidding. Okay. I think we are going to wrap it up. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, so I think we're at the end of the part of the session. So I would request Mr. Samir to take us through the word of thanks moments. Samir, would you please pop in? Please pop in with your camera.
Yes, sir. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Prasad Nag. I'm from Balangir. It's a great time for me to give thanks to our dear sir, Aditya Bharadwaj, for this wonderful session. What I understand, the language